Welcome into It's Just Wrestling, and holy shit, I don't even know where to begin. I mean, I have an idea. The biggest heel turn in modern history played out in front of our very eyes on Saturday at Elimination Chamber on what was arguably the best PLE of the year. I could even make a case that it might be the best PLE the WWE has put together in multiple years. We get the surprising return of Jade Cargill, who goes and decimates Naomi. We have a really solid women's Elimination Chamber match that Bianca Belair wins. I skipped the tag team match. I told you guys I was going to do that. Don't be upset. I still haven't gotten to watch the Sami Zayn-Kevin Owens match as of recording. I will by Thursday's episode. The men's Elimination Chamber match, the intrigue, the storytelling within the match, great. Seth Rollins with a curb stomp on CM Punk. And John Cena, very opportunistic, pulls young CM Punk back into the ring. Locks him in. CM Punk passes out. Cena wins. Cody Rhodes comes out. The chamber is lifted. Cody's in the ring with Cena. They have a little bit of a face-up, but they're two good guys. It's not an intense or a uncomfortable meeting between the two. It's supposed to be a very positive, send the fans home happy. Look at this. Two of the best baby faces. The best baby face of his generation versus the best baby face currently in the WWE or in all of professional wrestling. Face to face. Yay! WrestleMania 41! But then The Rock's music hits. And Travis Scott comes out. And you go, oh, interesting. Because we saw this with The Rock when he came out in New Orleans. He had Lil Wayne's music playing. Now he has Travis Scott. Okay, so The Rock comes out. Now we saw Cody going into Elimination Chamber, arriving at the arena in all black. And you start thinking to yourself, oh, is Cody? Cody's not going heel, is he? I mean, he's wearing all black. I think the last time we saw Cody look like that in all black, I want to say it's when he came back with the dark hair in AEW to challenge Brody Lee for the TNT title that he lost. I could be wrong. Feel free to correct me in the comments, but I'm pretty sure that's the last time we saw Cody look like that. And so you go, oh shit, is it actually going to happen? And many of you are aware, I've long been a fan of the idea of Homelander Cody. And one way to get to Homelander Cody was him aligning himself with The Rock. So you have The Rock in one corner, catty corner from him, you have Travis Scott. Cody's dead center. Cena kind of vacillates between the Travis Scott corner and the side of the ring. And I felt this tension, this anxiety, this stress, this nervousness that I did not expect to feel. I'm pretty level-headed at this point, and I like to think that I have a decent idea of what's going to happen at any given time. And on last week's show, I did mention that it'd be really cool if John Cena turned heel, but I don't think I gave it a lot of time. I think I talked more about why Drew McIntyre could have made sense, why Rollins could have made sense, why CM Punk could have made sense. I think I even talked about Damian Priest having a backstage interaction with The Rock and thinking all right, well, maybe even Priest wouldn't really move the needle a lot as the guy who sells his soul to The Rock. But I didn't really dive into this idea that Cena could do it because the guy's got 10 months left, or so they said when he was babyface. No, that might even be in question. But 10 months left. Would Cena really turn heel? The guy who's done more Make-A-Wish granting than anyone in history. How do you reconcile that? And then there, in the aftermath of this, there's the clip going around of him doing an interview, John Cena doing an interview with Chris Van Vliet and talking about all the Make-A-Wish stuff and how he was supposed to turn heel about a decade ago, maybe a little bit more than a decade ago, and how they ultimately decided that it just wasn't the right thing to do. What do you do? Anyway, you get back to Elimination Chamber, and you get this moment where throughout the show, holy shit chants were getting bleeped. There were a couple of other profanity things being hurled about by the crowd. They were getting muted. And you go, what the fuck? I think one thing that we all should expect in this post-cable world, at least with Raw, certainly with the PLEs, is that maybe the language gets to be a little bit more free-flowing. I don't expect F-bombs on every show. I'd actually encourage that not to happen. But when they're impactful, you go, all right, like, do we really need to bleep out a holy shit chant? AEW really doesn't do it much on Dynamite. It happens sometimes, but like, they don't do it that much. So why does WWE, which is now mostly streaming, why can't they do it? So there's like this little bit of frustration in the back of my head. But then you get to the end of the show, and all of that muting and all of that bleeping, all of that removal of profanity from the show. Boy, there are two profanities that stick out in the best way. Of course, Cody goes out of his way, looks The Rock dead in the face, and after The Rock says, "You will embrace me, and you will be my champion," Cody looks at him. Cody does the kind of sad face that he did a year ago when he had to give up his match with Roman Reigns. Remember the thing that set the whole internet ablaze and allegedly changed the plan of what WrestleMania was supposed to be in Philadelphia? Okay, so Cody kind of does the look up. And Cody looks at The Rock, and he says, "My soul is no longer mine." And you go, "Oh." And he says, "Do you want to know why?" And I'm like, there it is. That to me was the tell that he wasn't going to say yes. He goes, "You know why?" And I'm like, "Please don't say because you gave it to the people. Because I gave my soul to this ring and these people a long time ago." And I go, "Okay, Cody." Even I'm like, "Yeah, okay, Cody. Add a guy." And who's cheering it in the background? Cena. Now, on one hand, you go, why the hell is John Cena still there? And on the other hand, you go, well, John Cena and The Rock have some history. Cena's supposed to be this like uber babyface, this really good guy. He's not going to let Cody Rhodes be outnumbered. It's one thing to have The Rock there. You don't know what Travis Scott really is in terms of his ability to be physical, but you go, all right, keep the numbers even. Good babyface tactic. So Cena's back there in the background, applauding, losing his mind, right? And then Cody says, "Hey, Rock, go fuck yourself." And man, did that place go crazy. I was watching the show by myself. All of my kids were asleep. My wife was upstairs. Sometimes she'll watch wrestling with me, and sometimes she's like, no. That night was like, no. I let out a yelp. When Cody F-bombed The Rock, I let out a yelp. And I got to tell you, I thought it was one of the most impactful profanity moments in wrestling history. It was that damn good. And then it breathes, and The Rock stares a hole. I mean, we assume, because he's got the sunglasses, stares a hole through Cody Rhodes. Travis Scott starts with the you-know-what in his hand, and he's kind of doing one of these. And when I watched it with my sons the next day, they were like, "What's he doing?" I said, "Oh, it's sage," because, McAfee calls it the rage sage. He goes, "Oh, yeah, he's just getting rid of bad spirits." And they're like, "Oh, okay. So Travis Scott's over in the corner, and Cena's over on the side, and Cody takes the belt off his shoulder. The Rock says nothing. And there's this awkward pause where it's like, is The Rock going to attack Cody? Is Travis Scott going to do something? Is Cena going to stand alongside Cody and essentially scare the other two off? Cody and Cena, who have already shaken hands and talked with the in-ring mic there, right, on the camera, about the fact that they're going to main event WrestleMania. They shake hands. And as they're shaking hands, you see from the side John Cena's face change from happy-go-lucky John Cena, the same John Cena who's granted more Make-A-Wish requests than anyone in history. You go from seeing that John Cena, the same one who, as he was running down the entryway on his entrance, he came out looking kind of stern, but going down the entranceway, the John Cena who we have all come to understand as this ultimate good guy, the face changes. And when it does, he creates a scowl that I don't think we'll ever forget. And quite frankly, it's a scowl that sends like shivers down your spine. Cena scowls at The Rock. The Rock does the throat slit, and he ends it with the 2, which we'll get to in a second. Puts up a 2. Cena breaks away from Cody and then kicks him in the balls. Oddly reminiscent, actually, of an MJF low blow, right? The very quick kick. It's not a delayed one, but quick kick to the balls. And what ensues over the next 3 or 4 minutes is the absolute brutal attack on Cody Rhodes where Cena picks up the Rolex that was gifted to The Rock by Cody Rhodes, busts him open, hits him with Cody Rhodes' title belt twice. The first one, there's just a crack. This is a brutal sound. And you're watching it and you're wondering to yourself, like, is it really happening? Really? It's actually happening. Now, mind you, I'm watching it. I'm yelping. I'm going batshit crazy in my living room, realizing the fact that I could wake up 4 kids in the house, and it's probably not ideal. But I can't believe what I'm seeing. And I finally feel like I understand what people who watched Hulk Hogan join Hall and Nash felt at Bash at the Beach. Because I was a kid then, and we didn't get the pay-per-views when I was a kid. I remember the shock and horror of seeing some of the clips or the still images or whatever they showed on Nitro the next day. And I remember the shock that I felt that Ultimate Good Guy Hulk Hogan joined this thing that he called the New World Organization, then the New World Order, and that he's aligned with these 2 guys who invaded WCW. Man, the feeling of watching Cena turn was insane. I don't know if they'll ever be able to recreate it again, right? For them to get somebody who is so over as a babyface and who spends more than a decade in that role, has effectively long killed the idea of ever going heel. In his declared retirement year, John Cena taking this kind of a risk and turning heel to pursue that 17th championship is wild. And I'll tell you this, my kids asked me the next day, what happened? Who won the Elimination Chamber? And I said, oh, you know. And so I'm like, I didn't know when I was going to get to show it to them. So I told them that John Cena won it. But I said, but John Cena is now a bad guy. And they're like, well, I don't understand. And the kids were just shocked, right? Because my kids don't watch wrestling much, but they know that John Cena is a good guy. And I'm going to tell you something that's going to just, it's pretty wild. But for a long time, I don't remember how it started. When our family says grace at dinner time, we always say this thing at the end. We say, like, God bless the chef. And the kids, I think that just came up because we're thanking mom for making a meal. Sometimes dad makes a meal. We thank dad, right? Somewhere along the line, our kids started saying, and John Cena. And I think it's because I explained to them what Make-A-Wish is and that John Cena has granted more wishes than anyone else in history. And so part of us saying grace as a family at dinner time is God bless the chef and John Cena. We stopped saying and John Cena about 6 weeks ago. Maybe it was 2 months ago. What happened within the last 2 months? John Cena lost the Royal Rumble. He declared himself for the Elimination Chamber, did not qualify for the Elimination Chamber, said he was going to do it, and that him winning the 17th championship is best for business. Oh, and by the way, turned heel and bloodied Cody Rhodes. And when I showed it to my sons, when they finally got to see what John Cena did to Cody Rhodes, my 9-year-old was baffled. My 8-year-old began to cry. And when I say cry, I mean he wept. And mind you, these aren't kids that are watching wrestling week in and week out. The mere notion that a guy who has granted more Make-A-Wishes than anyone in history, that guy turning bad, that guy becoming a bad guy who bloodies the world champion, was so devastating to my 8-year-old that he wept. And then you start seeing the videos from around creators who are doing the live streams, and you start to see the reactions of kids in the crowd and kids on social media, and they're weeping, they're distraught, they're disappointed. And you just realize what a wild world of pro wrestling, what a wild time in pro wrestling we are living through right now, that John Cena turned heel. That is going to go down as one of the most memorable nights in the history of pro wrestling as a whole. It was absolute masterful storytelling. And I brought up the 2 from The Rock doing the throat slit. If you remember at Bad Blood, he hit with the 3, the same way that John Cena does the 3, but backwards, right? He did the slash and then come up with 2. And so now the speculation begins, is there a 1? And quite frankly and quite simply, the one that would make the most sense is Roman Reigns. 1's up. Is there a possibility here that Jey Uso who's also a massive babyface. Could Jey Uso join? I don't think so. Will it be Roman Reigns? I don't know. But if you remember the Bad Blood appearance by The Rock, there's a video from the crowd where Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu are up in the crowd, and Solo says it's all part of the plan. Solo's been kind of out of the picture in a lot of ways. Jacob Fatu's sort of running SmackDown as it's currently set up. It feels like the Bloodline saga is over, which is weird. Where's Roman Reigns? Is he going to show up next week at Raw at Madison Square Garden where Seth Rollins and CM Punk are now going to be in a cage match? I don't know. But I want to believe that there's going to be a payoff, that we went from 3 to 2 and there's going to be a 1, and I don't know who it'll be, but man, I am captivated. And for a WrestleMania buildup that many people, not just me, many people were saying was a little bit lackluster, the next 6-7 weeks are going to be absolutely insane. Now, the thing that I've seen now is that Cena is confirmed for a few Raws in Europe. I think it's the 13th or the 17th is when Cena's supposed to be going back on tour. There are a few dates in Europe that he's supposed to be at. Man, SmackDown is going to be must-see. Cody Rhodes is supposed to address the crowd. Will we see The Rock? Will we see John Cena? Will they both be together remotely via satellite? I don't know, but man, it is something to think about. Now, I do really quickly want to touch on something that happened on Raw because it kind of put a nice bow on it. Raw did video segments throughout the night showing some of the turn and the fallout and asking AJ Styles backstage what he thought. And you're getting this feeling of this has legitimate ripples going throughout the company. CM Punk starts the show with arguably the best promo that he's given in years. And he's had some great moments on the mic. But Punk starts off Raw by calling out his enemies, knocking things off the announce desk, taking the whatchamacallit that has Raw on it or WWE on it, takes it off the mic, and he says, who should I talk about? People yell, The Rock. And he calls The Rock a bald fraud. He goes on to call John Cena a bald fraud and notes the hypocrisy. And that Cena, who says, you can't see me, he says, we can all see through you. Everyone can now see through you and see exactly who you are. He also calls out Seth Rollins, and then he and Rollins get into it. And I've seen the funniest comparison is Peter Griffin and the Chicken, where they, no matter what happens, no matter how much distance is put between them, they start duking it out. That show had a continuous thread of Punk and Rollins and their hatred. And I said to myself, great, we're going to get that longer-term program between these two. Because if you remember, I compared Rollins and Punk in that short build-up to their match to like what Punk and Eddie Kingston had in AEW, where I said, like, I'd like a longer program. And instead it was very, very compact, and I felt like they left meat on the bone. We are now going to get CM Punk versus Seth Rollins next week on Raw in a steel cage. And man, I don't know if Roman Reigns is going to show up. It would make a lot of sense, especially given how things played out at the Royal Rumble. Excuse me, that he would show up. But there are so many stories right now that are swirling within creative and within this company. And if you're a pro wrestling fan, there is nothing quite like the build to WrestleMania. And now things have ratcheted up 5, 10, 15 levels. So if you're a WWE fan, this is all music to your ears. And this makes you almost feel justified for the time and effort that you put into consuming as much content as you can. Now, I will tell you that while WWE is doing a lot of great stuff, unless you're a crazy tribalist who can't see the forest for the trees, AEW is building to a really solid show this weekend at Revolution. So Thursday on It's Just Wrestling, I'm going to talk to you about what happens on Wednesday Night Dynamite and then preview what's going to happen at Revolution this weekend because it's a stacked card and we will hopefully get the end of the Death Riders and maybe we can start to turn the page to some new and exciting things, but there are a lot of great matches on that card. And so AEW gets a lot of focus on Thursday. I know that there are other things that happen on Raw. I know that Io Sky pulling off a massive upset of Rhea Ripley is huge. I mentioned Jade Cargill coming back and attacking Naomi at Elimination Chamber. Rey Fenix is now a free agent, so presumably will show up and could be on the WrestleMania card potentially. There are a lot of things going on. Thursday's show will have a very heavy AEW slant to it. If anything big does happen, any other big developments across the wrestling world happens, we'll get to them on Thursday, but I want to thank everybody who joined me. Remember, you can find It's Just Wrestling on YouTube, X, and Facebook. You can also find this on social media, on Instagram, as well as TikTok. You can find episodes of the show wherever you get your podcasts. That includes Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, Amazon Music. So until Thursday, I'm Russ Joy. This has been It's Just Wrestling. I will talk to each and every one of you Thursday here on It's Just Wrestling. Have a great day and enjoy your pro wrestling. Talk to all of you very, very soon.